You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Scottish Football Show Extra right here on SM Media. I'm Scott Pike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. We've got a Cumbernauld United special in this week's episode. We're delighted to be joined by the manager of Cumbernauld, Tony Fraser. Tony, it's a pleasure to welcome you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
No problem. Thanks very much for having us, Scott.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you back on the show. And we're joined by the captain of Cumbernauld, Danny Boyle. Danny, it's a pleasure to have you on. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Scott. Cheers.
Brilliant. Obviously, we're recording this on a Thursday night, and it's been a quiet week, hasn't it? There's not been a lot happening in Scottish football. It's been obviously we'll touch on it straight away before we get into talking about Cumbernauld. Obviously, the news has come through. Steven Gerrard has left Rangers to join Aston Villa. Tony, your immediate reaction to that? Were you surprised when that came through that Gerrard was leaving to go to the Premier League?
I was and I wasn't, to be honest. Listen, I think it kind of similarities into with the Brendan Rodgers thing with Celtic. It's just, I think it just shows you where the old firm are at the moment financially. Do you know what I mean? There's a shelf life as a manager at the old firm. They can only go so far. You think Rodgers maybe hit his peak and felt he couldn't go any further. I don't know, maybe Gerrard's just thinking the same. Maybe he's just hit that point where he just can't get them to go any further, and he's not got the money to can actually go and do what he wants to do. And listen, he's faded down south and he's made his career in that league, so he'll be thinking he can go down there and get a good crack at it and ultimately get where he wants to be, which is obviously back at Liverpool.
I think you have kind of explained a lot of how I feel about it as well. There's obviously a lot to get into, and we'll kind of do a wee special show on that during the week. But Danny's struggling to hide his smile, as I can see. Are you happy to see the back of Gerrard?
Honestly, I wasn't that bothered. It was here. See last year, mate, right? And I'm obviously biased. The only person that lost the league or won the league was Lennon. He was a shambles last year, right? And I know I'm biased and I know it's this and it's that, but see, pre-COVID, before, when there was fans and that, Gerrard was a game away for the sack. Lost against Hamilton, miles behind Celtic. COVID happened, Celtic struggled big time with that, Rangers prospered. I'm surprised Villa have taken him, to be honest with you. Like, I think the kind of catalyst for Gerrard's success has been Michael Beale, so I think he was probably the big reason that they've maybe taken him as well, as opposed to just Gerrard. I think, I have no idea how he'll do there. I think a lot of Rangers fans are obviously sad to see him going that, because they were in a horrendous state before he came back. So he's left him in a better place. So I suppose a wee bit like I was better when Rodgers left as well, and a lot of Rangers fans are better now. But he's left him in a better place. Celtic didn't do the right thing by announcing Lennon after Rodgers left, so it's just for Rangers fans out making sure, or Rangers as a club making sure they don't do the same or make the same mistakes Celtic did. For me, again, being biased, last year was obviously Rangers ran away with it and that, and this year with Celtic looking a bit better. I don't know whether it's the first sign of a real challenge after success, and he's thinking I need to get out before maybe, because if Rangers lost the league this season to Celtic, that would be shambolic and it wouldn't be great in Gerrard's CV either. So I don't know whether it's maybe part of that reason why he's kind of opted to move south, as well as obviously $150,000 a week he's meant to be getting. So
it's some wage when you see that, isn't it?
I know.
But again, it's one of these things that obviously there's more to come out of it, and we'll kind of talk about it more in the flagship show. But we'll get into Cumbernauld. Let's get into talking about the real Scottish football. We'll start with Cumbernauld. Obviously, we'll talk about your season so far. 17 points for 17 games, 5 wins, 2 draws, 10 defeats. Tony, I spoke to you at the start of the season and you said the main prerogative was to stay in the league. How would you rate the season so far, and how you're getting? Is it stable enough for where you have kind of thought the season would start?
Well, listen, we've been pleased with a lot of stuff. We've kind of been not so pleased with some other stuff that's happened. But we spoke last week as a group, and we looked at our points total, 17 points, and I think we're fair where the points are. I think every point that we've won, we've deserved, and I think the games we lost, we deserved to lose the games as well. I think the only one I would say we're probably 2 points behind is I thought the game we were home to Cumbernauld. I thought we were really good that day. We should have won the game. We didn't. We ended up, we drew the game. So I think we probably deserved an extra 2 points in that game. But other than that, I think probably fair's fair.
Danny, how's been your kind of overall thoughts on the season so far? As we say, obviously, it's 5 wins, 2 draws, 10 defeats, and 17 points. How's your kind of thoughts on it so far?
Obviously started off really well, and then hit a wee bit of a kind of tough run of fixtures, a few injuries. Everyone's been affected by COVID, so that's not an excuse. But the injuries probably hampered us a wee bit again in some games. But I agree with Tony, like 17 points. I'd probably think with him we should be maybe 3-4 points better off than that. And if you look at where that would take, that where we'd be sitting in the league if we were 3 or 4 points better off, would be more or less mid-table. So it's so tight that it's going to be an interesting season. But if we have all our players fit and available and stuff like that, then I like Tony suggested at the start of the season, I'd fancy ourselves to be safe, to be honest with you.
What about the start? Obviously, the first 3 games, 7 points, wins over WOSFL, Cumbernauld, and then a draw with Clydebank. Tony, the start must have gave you a lot of confidence that it could be a good season. Obviously, the big one there was obviously the win against Cumbernauld. What was your kind of overall reaction after 3 games?
We were hoping the season was going to get cold. That'll do us. We've done enough. Just call it there. We'll start again next season. No, listen, it was great for the players because Cumbernauld in the season before any of us were there, never had a single point on the board. So the fact that they'd went, and it wasn't just the first 3 games, we went through the whole of pre-season unbeaten as well. Mm-hmm. So we came into it on a bounce. The players were kind of buying into what we were trying to do, what we were trying to achieve. And we just went for it. We were going into games and they didn't have a fear. They were just going in and they were going and playing. Whereas we went to Clydebank and I think Clydebank are a top side and we knew they were going to have a lot of the ball, but we went in with a game plan and we frustrated them. And the 2 equalisers they scored there was an injury time first half, an injury time second half. I mean, we were so close to turning them, and they were one of the favourites to be winning the league at that point. And then when we go to Cumbernauld, I think that was on the weekend after we played Clydebank, and we were terrific that day, absolutely terrific. And it wasn't a fluke result or a lucky result. I think we were by far better than Cumbernauld on the day, and we started really, really well. But listen, we never got too high at that point. We never felt, all right, well, maybe wherever we were sitting, third in the league or whatever it was, but we never ever thought, oh, this is going to be our season, this is where we're going to be. We always knew the speed bumps were going to come and we always knew we were going to hit them and we were going to have some ropey moments and some weeks where we took maybe a couple of sore ones. But as I said, it's just about getting through the bad ones and making sure everybody's still intact and the confidence is still there and you attack the games where you target points and you go and kind of make sure you get them. But I think as well, 17 points, a lot of people look at 17 points and maybe think it's not a good return, but all the big guns we've played away from home. Mm-hmm. Apart from Darvel, they're the only ones we played at home. Everybody else we've beaten. So we've beaten Newlandsfield, Beechwood, Kilwinning, Meda, Pollock. We've beaten all their places now. So when they come back round, they've got to come to Cumbernauld. So do you know what I mean? We can say the hard ones are out the way. They're still hard, listen, when you play them at home. But you would give yourself more of a chance when you're playing at home. So I'll be looking forward to the remainder of the season. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. Danny, would you kind of share the thoughts in the first 3 games? Was that as good a start as you could have hoped for?
It was an excellent start, especially for the boys that were there last year. The sort of elation after the first game of beating WOSFL and that, and a lot of the boys were buzzing, and we kind of came in and we said, well, it's nothing really, essentially. It's obviously a good result in that, and a few of the boys, we lost 7 out of 7 last year, but obviously I think they were a bit of shambles last year, to be honest with you. So the start was great, and then, as I said, a few tough games, few injuries and that. I feel as if it's knocked us a wee bit, but I think we're certain we've got a running fixtures. Obviously, we're targeting the next kind of up to leading up to Christmas. That we want to give our best shot in that and look to get as much out of that as possible. So, as Tony said, we went to the difficult teams like Talbot with more or less 2 centre mids in defence. a centre mid playing right mid. Like, just boys were just kind of having to fill the positions. We were struggling for numbers, so I know it's excuses and that, but there's a reason they're going to have downturn in form in this league and stuff with stuff like that going on. So definitely looking forward to the rest of the season as well, now that we seem to be getting a lot of boys back fit.
After the start that you had, obviously unbeaten in the first 3 games, there was a 4-0 defeat to Largs and then obviously a 2-0 defeat to Meadow. Tony, were they disappointing results after the start, especially the Largs one?
The Largs one was a real downer that night, because it was a midweek game on Wednesday night, and we spoke about it on Monday. And I said to the players, look, these are the games I kind of fear, because it's all right going to Clydebanks and Cumbernauld and stuff like that. Well, players' performances take care of themselves, but you need to. And Largs hadn't started well at all, and they were coming on. I think it was the back of maybe a 5-1 defeat with Beef, something like that. So I mean, I could see the players starting going, oh, here, that's enough, 3 points here, easy, and it wasn't. I mean, to be fair, the first 5 minutes of that game we actually started well, and we looked at it. We then lost a goal, and it just gave Largs this big bit of belief. And then, but to be fair to Largs, I thought they played really, really well that night, Largs. What we played equally, we were as bad. But no, it was a sore one, that one.
Danny, the Largs result, was that a sore one for the dressing room as well, obviously after the kind of good start you had?
Aye, definitely. As Tony said, we started that game well. We could have 2-0 up maybe early doors, and then I don't know the boy's name. The wee 10 for Largs, he was excellent, to be honest with you. We just couldn't handle him, and everything he touched kind of turned to gold that night. I think he scored. They certainly assisted a couple, and we found it really difficult to get back in the game, and we were 2 down sort of early first half. We were chasing it a wee bit, maybe ourselves not kind of being rigid in our shape that we need to be, just because we're thinking, how we 2-0 down for the great start to the season. As Tony said, I think maybe it was we realised kind of this is a difficult league now, because we've had three good results, or 3 decent results, and then we went in against Largs. Maybe some boys thinking this will be a 3-pointer here, just with the way we've started, and it certainly wasn't it.
Obviously, you both come in the summer. What was your thoughts immediately, Tony, when you went in there? What was it like when you went in, and obviously after the season they'd had before, obviously COVID? Was it a big? Did you think it would be a big job to pick the team up for where they were?
Well, to be honest, I went in and there wasn't a team.
Aye.
George, the chairman, had said, "Do you want to come in and meet the players?" And I went up, and there was four players sitting in the dressing room, and one other player who was still contracted to the club but was actually on loan from another club. Right. And none of the remaining players had signed deals to stay at the club, so we actually had no players whatsoever. To be fair though, the 4 players that were in that night signed forms that night, and then we just kind of slowly went about it. Listen, it was a massive job. Listen, it was, and a couple of weeks later, there was times when I was sitting in the house going, what have I done? Why have I touched this? I don't need to take this. Because it's that way you have good, positive signing talks with players, and then you get a phone call or a text the next day saying, I'm going to leave it, I'm going to go elsewhere, and you think, I need to go and start again and find the next one. But listen, you lose a couple, and then maybe you get a couple in a row, you maybe get 2, 3, 4, miss out the next one, and you get another couple, and then before you know it, you start looking at your squad as a whole, and you can see it kind of coming together. And at the time we started pre-season, we were really, really pleased with the group that we had put together. So
brilliant. Danny, what was your thoughts, obviously, when you went in? Did you kind of click with the dressing room straight away?
I definitely, I think last year, obviously, I was at Gartcairn last year, and I think that was one of the things we lacked, and not through any fault of the boys or the club or anything like that. We just couldn't get that sort of team morale and the camaraderie around the dressing room, because we didn't have use of the dressing room. It was just, whereas straight away, obviously, meeting the boys, everyone kind of like-minded and that, and it is a really good dressing room, to be honest with you. Like, I've been in a few decent ones, and it's certainly up there. The boys in it are great, and some experienced boys, some young boys and that, but everyone's definitely kind of we're kind of a tight unit, and we're definitely working in the same direction. We're all aiming for the same goal, so no massive egos, nothing like that, just good boys in the dressing room, which is all you really want.
Yeah, absolutely. The two big wins during the season were obviously the away win against Troon and then the home win against Hurlford. Tony, how massive victories were them?
Huge, because the one away to Troon, midweek game away down to Troon, I think Danny was suspended or something, or injured or something, so we didn't have Danny, so obviously we were main centre half. But we signed Steve McDevitt that day from Pollock, and he came in and we just threw him straight in at centre half. He was great, but we didn't play particularly well. We grounded it up, which was a really pleasing thing. As a manager, it's really pleasing. Sometimes it's better seeing your players grinding out a result rather than kind of playing that free-flowing stuff. We got a clean sheet, a 1-0 victory, and it was a massive 3 points after the difficulty that kind of previous to, because that was after the Largs in the medal game. So it was important that we kind of got something and to go to Troon and come away with 3 points and a clean sheet without Danny was massive. Not just for myself, but I think for the rest of the players as well.
And was the game against Hurlford as well, particularly at home, did that stick out as a big one?
That again, massive one again, because a 1-0 win, clean sheet, finished the game with 9 men.
That's right.
Danny sent off, Lee Davidson sent off for about the 14th time this season. So we were up against it. And we were playing really, really well. And then we lost, obviously, the two boys. And we had a striker on. He put him on, Scott Thompson was injured. And he came on, he got injured, had to take him back off again. So we ended up, we finished the game with just defending it. It was just like a game, just defence via attack. Hurlford were just coming at us and we were just clearing it, heading it and kicking anywhere. But no, again, it's great when you see your team getting 3 points in that manner.
Yeah, definitely. Danny, what happened against Hurlford?
Obviously, the ref had a nightmare. No, to be honest, the one for mine was probably a sending off. It was a kind of last man boy through. He threw himself to the ground the same way I'd expect my strikers to get a decision. I got a red, and then really his was definitely harsh, to be honest. I know we'll say that, and he says it all the time, but he tackles away, and you're not allowed to in the game. Like a few of the tackles he puts in, brilliant tackles. You're delighted with that, and then the ref just jumps out, red card, and his was definitely unfair, to be honest with you, mate. But being able to watch for the side, and obviously them still picking up the 3 points, that's massive, because you've thrown the boys under the bus with me and kind of less so Lee, and then they've got 3 points. That makes it kind of even sweeter.
And then obviously they're on the 5 defeats and 6. So obviously you mentioned there obviously the games against like Pollock, Talbot, the Buffs, Clydebank, they were all the way from home. The one against Rob Roy, was that a sore one, Tony?
Oh, it was horrible. Absolutely horrible. It was very similar to the Largs game. That because we knew we were in the middle of that run with all the really difficult fixtures, so you're always looking at Rob Roy, and it's no, you don't think that's an easy game, but you're going, right, that's a game where we need to go and try and get points in this run. And again, like the last game, we started really, really well. And I remember turning around to John Hughes that day and saying, we're at it here. We're really at it. We looked really good. We looked in the mood. We just couldn't score. And then Rob Roy broke away from, I think it was our throw-in about halfway line. He just broke away and scored. It was from nothing. And then for there, it was just, it just went from bad to worse. It was horrible.
And obviously Danny, what was your thoughts in that game in particular, and obviously the 5 defeats for 6? Is it bad in the dressing room when you're in a kind of run like that? Is it hard to get confidence and get kind of motivated to go out and try?
I don't know, it affects some boys differently. Like some boys are just absolutely miserable, depressed with that, and then other boys try to keep the morale up and stuff. And training's always quite positive, I would say. Like there's no after a heavy defeat you just ran the full night. I don't think that does anything for them. It just demoralise them even more. So we were never allowed to be down with the defeats. We realised obviously it wasn't acceptable. Some of them, especially the Pollock one. Listen, Pollock were brilliant that night, and but still 5 goals isn't acceptable for any team to lose at the same level as you really. Against Kilwinning, boys were really unlucky. Kilwinning were probably the better team, but they held in right to the end, and they had a couple of chances to get us in for it. As I said, obviously wasn't Talbot in there. I think the boys defended really well. were unlucky. I think it was 0-0 at half-time, Tony. And then they came out second half, and a goal for, again, I mean, we're obviously biased, as I've mentioned a few times tonight, but the ref, for some reason, just kind of allows the play to go. And I can't even remember, were you making a substitution or something? What was it?
The first goal was a cross to the right, and Big TV heads it hits the bar, bounces down and out, and he's got his hands in his head because he's like, it's no in, but the liner runs away and gives a goal, and their players, to be fair, are going, it's never in, it's nowhere near in. And then, so the whole dynamic of the game changed on that, because they were starting to get frustrated and they were shooting for kind of daft areas of the pitch and stuff like that. So the game plan was kind of working, but as soon as they go 1-0 up, they started to relax, and then they just kind of ground us down, and then I think it finished 3-0 or something like that. But
obviously after that as well, you get the big, you've had a few 3-2s this season, both for and against you. The 3-2 win against Bournemouth, was that another one that was massive, Tony?
Aye, because the weather that day was horrendous.
That was a bad weather day, wasn't it?
Bouncing down, but again, no disrespect to Bonington, but we were desperate to get the game on, because again, we're targeting going, this is a game where we should be looking to go and get points, and we did. We played really, really well that day. We were excellent, but we found ourselves behind twice. It was like you're standing at the side of the pitch and going, how is this happening? Because we were so good, but then we got an equaliser, I think about a minute to go or something like that, and we got a winner in injury time. So that was a huge 3 points. Did
you have that feeling as well, Danny? They were a massive 3 points after that game?
Aye, definitely. Bonington had a hard run as well, and they were up for it equally as much as ourselves, and good few players at Bonington, and but I think that was probably one of our sort of better all-round performances of the season. So when you're 2-1 down with 5 left, I think there's absolutely no luck at all. And then the boys dug in, and I think it was Booby that get the winner, and you seen the relief for the boys in that. It was a good celebration, and again, just a kind of massive 3 points with possession within 5 minutes prior to that. I think in the 2 games, I think we played Cumbernauld and we played Bonington, and with 5 to go in both games, we had no points. We were getting beat off both of them, and we managed to get an equaliser against Cumbernauld and then the winner against Bonington. So that's 4 massive points, you know what I mean? Because the boys have got a good attitude and kind of never say die attitude. So that's why it's always important to stay tight in the game and then give ourselves a chance against any team.
The last 3 games obviously have been defeats. The 3-0 defeat against Glenafton, then 3-2s against Bede and Darvel. Tony, that's when you look at them in paper, you think like Bede and Darvel, all reports where you are really, really in the games, and we're probably unlucky not to get anything. Do you kind of go along with that sentiment?
Aye, the Glenafton one, we were well beat. We were well beat that day. I actually was pretty impressed with Glenafton. I thought they were actually pretty good. The Bede one was really disappointing because the goals we lost were horrendous. They were just really, really poor goals. And we had a good game plan before the game. We knew we were going to hurt them on corners and set plays. We did. We scored from a corner. We scored for a set play. But the goals we just conceded were just horrible. And then, listen, the Darvel one at the weekend there, it's difficult, but Darvel are a top side, and they're not just full of good players. Their players are all 6-foot giants, man, as well. They're all absolute units. And we were at actual bare bones at the weekend. Like, we were scraping together. My match secretary was asking me for my team lines, and I was like, I haven't even got a team yet. I'm waiting to see who crawls off my physio's bed first before I can name it. So we knew we were going to give up loads and loads of possession in the game. It was the only way we could really go about it. And we kind of frustrated them. And they had a lot of the ball. They weren't really doing anything. But because they've got good players, as soon as you switch off, they punish you. And then the players did great. We worked ever so hard, and we've done brilliant to get back to 2 each. And then, again, it was just a penalty with a few minutes to go that they get. I was shouting at the game that it wasn't a penalty, but I haven't seen it back. It's a stonewall penalty. So, but again, but it was a weird one Saturday because I came away, and although we got beat and you never want to get beat, I came away quite content though with the players because I'd seen the actual effort that they'd put in, And I thought, no, do you know what? Even though we've come through a bad run, they're still with us and they're still at it.
Would you share the thoughts, Danny?
Aye, definitely. Davil were a top team with good players in it, and players that could play really most levels, like League One down, probably some, I don't know, like Kirky, etc. Brilliant players. So we gave up a lot of possession, which was probably the first time we've really played like that, to be honest here, like Tony set us up like that. And I think, okay, we didn't get any points, but 3-2 defeat against Davil isn't the worst result in the world. Like, we want to get points and stuff like that, but many teams will get absolutely spanked off Davil this year. So, and again, for it to be last 5 and we've conceded the penalty when we've got ourselves right back in the game, was disappointing. But it's one of the things. It's not really, as Tony mentioned, it's not really kind of one of the games you're expecting to get points from. So it's almost a bit of a free hit. And when we play like that against Davil, we know that we've got a chance against other teams in the league. So if we prepare ourselves and set ourselves up right.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll touch about your cup runs as well. Obviously, you're still sitting in the south. You've got a game against Glasgow United in the next round, but your junior cup run, you've done well in the first round, beating Cumbernauld, then the second round, the win against Livy United away, and then obviously the third round was Medal away. It was 5-2 when it was a.
Yeah.
How kind of good were the cup runs up until obviously Medal, Tony?
They're good. I mean, this is probably the last time the Junior Cup will probably go, I think. I don't think it will go again. So, and I kept saying to the players, listen, there's so much to play for this season. There's so many cup competitions, and with 7 teams going down, different teams are going to prioritise different things. So you might see somebody winning the Junior Cup that you wouldn't have expected to win it because other teams are kind of looking elsewhere. So I kept saying to them, why can it not be you? I mean, you just go and make a name for yourself. And we did well. Cumbernauld game, we beat them. We played really well. Livingston again, we played well. Medal game, again, it was just really, really sloppy goals we conceded. Like, poor goals. It's just individual mistakes cost you. And then in Medal, I've got good players, you know what I mean? So if you make these mistakes, they're not going to let you off the hook.
Darren, what was your thoughts on the cup run? Is it good confidence when you get kind of quite far in the competitions?
I mean, it probably is, but I wouldn't say we were very far in that. I know we got the third round in that, but I was in my bed with a sickness bug for Medal, but I don't think, even speaking to the boys and stuff like that, I think we let ourselves down that day. I don't think we performed the way we can. I think only 1 or 2 players were maybe at it, and that's not enough against a team like Medal. So disappointing, to be honest. I would have liked to have went a wee bit further, and at the end of the day, you were getting Talbot in the next round. You know what I mean? So whether or not people they thought, well, that's a defeat, I don't know. Other people out with might, but you never know in a cup competition. And honestly, again, I think if we have our strongest 11, we're a match for. We can be a match for anyone. Honestly, we've got a very good squad, but we've just not had a kind of fully fit squad all season.
We'll touch a bit obviously later on in what's coming up for you as well, but we'll move on to talking about your careers. You've obviously both been in the game a while. Tony, you had an established playing career, obviously had a really good time with Rutherglen and things like that. What was your kind of favourite memories of your playing career?
I think every time I always played, I never ever chased money anywhere. My moves were always decided on where I felt I could go and win things. So I think you always remember winning things. I mean, collecting medals. I just think at this level especially, your night suit are tremendous when you've won. I mean, they're brilliant. Dressing room. I mean, some of the stuff that goes on in dressing rooms is unbelievable. And that, even for me when I retired, that's probably the thing you miss the most. It's not so much even playing. It's just that dressing room. Now getting in there and stories. Even when you get older, you come in on Monday and you're looking for the young boys to give you a bit of gossip what they've been up to at the weekends, because their life's totally different from what you're living now. So it's that part you miss. So I would say just winning things and then getting to celebrate. I'm like when myself and Danny were obviously lucky enough to win a cup final when we both played at Cumbernauld.
Right.
And I mean, that night out we had was unbelievable. It still gets spoke about to this day. I mean, so no, things like that definitely winning, and then it's the people that you then keep in contact with for the rest of your life. I mean, you just think sometimes you think, oh, I'm just training on a Monday, Wednesday, playing a Saturday, but these guys, I mean, you rely on them for loads and loads of things, and not even just from football. Like now, you phone them up and say, "Can you go and watch a game for me? Can you go and watch a player for me?" And people's input's massive, I mean, especially people that you trust.
Yeah, definitely. Danny, what was your kind of memories of your playing career up until you went back to Cumbernauld? Obviously, you played with Cumbernauld, won a trophy, and then spells at Talbot and Pollock and that. What was your kind of sticks out to your early career?
Like Cumbernauld was just, for me, the best, mate, to be honest. Like, I know that some people would think, well, Paul, Talbot, etc., like, they were all amazing, but in terms of memories and stuff under Queenie, El Gaffer at Cumbernauld, like, that was just, it was always a thing you were craving after. Like, I was there for 3 years as a young, well, at the start, so 20 to 23, and Queenie was just, there's not even words to explain what he's like, mate. He's a constant buzz. So like, training was amazing. You'd turn up for training at 7 o'clock and you'd still be in the dressing room at 8:15, and like, he'd just be telling stories and winding folk up and that. He's just a great guy, and loved it at Cumbernauld, especially the third year. But when we won the cup that year, we ended up finishing fourth in the league, which was disappointing because with the squad that Queenie and Gio had built, we kind of expected the minimum of the playoffs. So that finishing third, we missed that. So that then kind of a lot of boys wanted to kind of try themselves in the league above, which was myself as well. Went to Rob Roy, had a good time at Rob Roy as well. And then kind of early in the first season, Talbot had phoned and spoke to us and says they were interested possibly getting us in that season. Ended up leaving it till the end of the season. Talbot's something else, mate, to be honest. Like, Ayrshaw's something else for football. Like, you don't really realise how important that is to the community and things. It's not that way up in Glasgow in the majority of cases because Celtic and Rangers, whereas they've obviously, as much as they're far enough away that they prioritise a local community club in that. And Talbot was an eye-opener. Still is an eye-opener when you go down, when fans used to obviously treat you quite well, and then you go down and you think, oh, I don't know what did I actually do to you, man. But yeah, they live for their club in that, and I've enjoyed it. Listen, I'm 31 now, so I won't play for that much longer. I've got other things on, so I've enjoyed my career. Talbot, Paul, like, you don't get bigger than that at this level, so to have a wee bit of time at each club was great.
Tony, you obviously retired past couple of years, and then obviously get into management. Before we get into how you get into management, what was it like? Obviously, kind of hanging up the boots, was it hard?
I always thought it would be, but see, by the point when the decision was really took out my hands, because my back was in that much mess, I was actually pretty relieved when the kind of decision came, because I was just playing. I was in so much pain. I mean, I remember playing against Clydebank on the Astro, and I was running, and it was my bottom two discs in my back kept popping out, and I was needing to push them back in during games. But then eventually the disc burst, so the water was away, so they were just grinding, and I was playing Clydebank, and I'm running by the referee, and the referee said to me, "Somebody sounds as though they've got keys in their pocket." And I said, "No, that's my back." And he started laughing and walked away. And then I ran by him a couple of minutes later, and he went, "That is your back making that noise." I know. And I couldn't move. After playing on the Astro, it was for about 2 or 3 days, I literally couldn't move, and I was like, I just can't do it anymore. So it was a kind of relief at the end.
And then obviously, how did it come about you ended up getting into management? Was it always a plan to get into coaching when you stopped playing?
Not so much coaching, to be honest. See, whenever I played, I always wanted to manage. Never ever wanted to coach. Couldn't ever be bothered with it. But when I was having through the injuries at Glencairn, because I wasn't able to train during the week and just playing at the weekends, they were saying to me, just get more involved taking training. And then I kind of just got the buzz for it, kind of coaching, and just loved it. And it just kind of rolled for there. I've now got my own coaching school and stuff like that as well. So I loved it. And then, but I know management, it was always something that I wanted to go and try.
And then the Cumbernauld job, how did that come about? When did you first hear that you could be going to Cumbernauld to take over?
I was sitting in the house and George Watson's name just came up on my phone. I was like, that's weird. was like, surely I don't have money. And he's not going to be phoning me to say, I owe you money. So, and I answered that. And then he just said, look, he said, it's no common knowledge yet, but Kieran McInespie's away. Would you be interested? And it kind of caught me off guard, I mean, because I was quite comfortable where I was at Glencairn doing what I was doing. And I went up and we had a few chats about this and that. And he told me what his plans were for the club. And I thought, you know what? I may as well. Premier League, it's better to go and start in the Premier League than try and get. It's easy to get players to come and play for you if you're in the Premier League. You know what I mean? Rather if you're starting in a kind of Conference League, maybe lowly down, you're not going to get players like Danny. He's not going to come and play for you at that level. So I was like, I'll just go. We'll have a bash and we'll see where it takes us.
We've got a wee question about a certain person's reaction to that later on, but we'll touch on that later on in the show. Danny, what was it? Obviously, you spent time at Cumbernauld. This is your second spell. What was it like when you heard that you were kind of a possibility of going back?
I didn't think. I wasn't sure what Gio was up to be honest with you, letting us come back, mate. Listen, I had more or less agreed. Well, in fact, I had agreed to sign elsewhere, but nothing had been signed. And Tony had phoned us and says, look, again, kind of not common knowledge, there's a good chance of getting the job here. What's your thoughts? And Tony, I've agreed to sign elsewhere. And he was like, right, we'll sign then. And I was like, no. And he was like, right, so you've not signed then? And have a think about it. So, listen, I had a great time with Tony at Cumbernauld before, always kept in contact with him, great guy and that. So, it was, I hated to have to do it, like, as in go back to the other manager and say, listen, it's no, I'm going with Tony and that. And I did have a decent think about it and stuff like that. But when I kind of weighed everything up, it was the best thing for me. Like, I knew Tony knew me. He knew what I can bring and what I can give and also what my weaknesses are. And listen, it was an easy decision after all. Like, it's the hardest part of it was letting down the other gaffer who was great with us and really understanding as well, to be honest with you. So I was delighted to be back and delighted to kind of rekindle a friendship with George after letting him down a few years before.
Brilliant. Right, we're going to put you in the spot. If you've seen the show, you know it's we put the manager on the spot with some quick fire manager questions, and then we put the player on the spot with some teammate questions. Tony, you ready to be put in the spot here?
Yes.
Right. Obviously, you might know these questions were written before anything happened. So, Gerrard or Postecoglou?
Postecoglou.
Right. Favourite other sport?
Oh, badminton.
Who's the best character you've ever met in football?
Oh. Character? Oh. Rab hair.
You can sign 3 players from your rivals in the West of Scotland Premier Division. Who would they be and why?
I would take Adam Ford.
Okay.
I think he's top class striker, terrific. What else would I take? What do I need? I would take the boy Kirker for Darvel. I thought he was terrific. Just watching him at the weekend, I thought his movement, touch, but I think by and far he's been the best we've seen in this league so far this season. I've got 2 young goalies, so I'd probably take a goalie. I love Chris Drewsdale at Darvel. I was with him at Glencairn. I think he's terrific. I would take him.
Brilliant. Who's the best player you played with?
David Dixon.
Who's the worst?
CJ.
Win the league or win the Scottish Cup?
League.
Who's your favourite manager in the league?
This league?
Mm-hmm.
Gordon Moffat.
Who's your best friend in football?
I think I fell out with him. Made through football, probably Donnie Wilson.
How important is it to improve the infrastructure at the club?
Listen, we're always trying to improve. I think Cumbernauld, to be fair, we've got one of the best setups kind of going about. I mean, our training facilities are first class. I mean, I don't think anybody else has got their own nine-a-side AstroTurf training facility. We've got 5-a-side parts, a 7-a-side pitch. Really good. I think we're only missing floodlights, stuff like that. And then Geo, we used to have a sauna and Geo get rid of it, which is pretty poor.
Aye.
Favourite film?
The Commitments.
Favourite TV show?
Oh, Money Heist.
Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi.
Who's your least favourite manager in the league?
Maxi.
Brilliant. Right, what we're going to do is we're going to move it over to Danny, but what we're going to, obviously with the teammates questions, Tony, you can chip in and answer anything. If you disagree with Danny, then please chip in as well, all right? So, Danny, you ready for these questions?
Yeah, on you go.
Best dancer?
Lee Davidson, probably.
Worst dancer?
Big Hanzo.
Future manager?
Ooh.
Maybe Div.
Best trainer?
McD.
Who's the worst?
Who's the worst tea? Scotty Thompson, probably, to be honest. Scotty Thompson. What a player, by the way, but hates training. Loves the Chinese.
Team Hardman?
Hardman. Sinky, probably.
McD.
Aye, well, yeah.
Most skillful?
Booby.
Quickest player?
Probably Jay or Hanzo.
Who's the slowest?
Aye, okay. T on you go.
Well, pick anyone of the defenders. I think, Danny, you're probably slightly quicker than Jordan Kennedy.
Aye, only when Jordy's injured.
Best character in the dressing room?
There's a few. Like Lee's a great character. Big Haggis. And then McD, just his experience and stuff like that. So a few decent characters.
Worst dress sense?
Probably Jay bears all that stupid Pam Angels nonsense. Thinks it's fashionable, just social media pish.
Clark's Crocs.
Well, aye, they're horrendous as well. Aye.
Final one, teacher's pet. Who sucks up the manager the most?
Maybe Paddy.
Tony, any responses to the questions that you disagree with?
No, pretty fair. I don't know about Big David. I was surprised at that one.
No. Just
I've yet to hear him speak, so
he looks like a manager, but like I don't know, manager in an office or something like that. Maybe not a football manager.
Right, as you know, if you've seen the show, you know we get in touch with some people close to both men and ask them if they've any stories they want us to ask about. The first one we've got is ask Tony about a takeaway carton.
This was when I was back in my very early days at Vale of Clyde. We used to get changed for training, and then when you were changed, you would get into the committee room and just eat custard creams. As we were leaving one night, Donny Wilson arrived late, and he was eating some takeaway for his dinner. He just finished his work. So he went in and get changed, and then he came into the committee room and he's like, I don't want the rest of these chips. Does anybody want these? And Paul Thompson's like, oh, I'll have them. I'm starving. And he gave Paul Thompson the carton. And Paul put his hand under it, so it's still hot. And he opens it. It was the biggest Mr. Whippy #2 you can ever imagine in this takeaway carton. And on every time I tell that story, I can still smell it. It's class though.
Brilliant. Danny, how do you get on at Auchinleck when you get down?
Yeah, I try not to go down. So I caught COVID deliberately, so I didn't have to go down last time. But no, I listen. It's banter, isn't it? It's a good laugh, so I enjoy it. Never had the greatest of spells as an opposition player going down there, so they certainly enjoy giving me a torrent of abuse. But I did get a wee bit back on them not long after I left, and playing with Rob Roy, and we were 3-1 down and we won 4-3 and kind of ran up to the fans. I don't know what I was doing. I got a wee bit carried away myself. First game of the season, ended up finishing, I think, 10th. Talbot won it, so I think they get the last laugh, didn't they?
Brilliant. Tony, how did Wally Harvey take your news of going to Cumbernauld?
To be fair, he took it well. He's a great guy, Willie, do you know what I mean? He was obviously disappointed, but no, listen, Willie's been massive throughout my whole career. He was the first guy that brought me into this level. He was my first manager. He's obviously gave me my first chance at coaching and stuff like that as well. So no, I owe him millions and millions for my whole kind of career. And he was great with me when I phoned him. Listen, disappointed, but listen, it's Wally. He wished me all the best, and then he was nice on the phone. He was putting nice things on Twitter and Facebook, but believe me, he wasn't texting me nice things.
Brilliant. Danny, what's it like playing under Tony? Is it different to how he is as a player?
No, I mean, Tony was obviously the latter stages of his career when he was when I was at Cumbernauld, and as a captain, he was always quite similar. He had the same kind of hunger and expectation, or drive and expectation, of the players. And Queenie, obviously, our gaffer at the time, signed Tony because he knew the type of person he was, and he's not changed in any way at all, and he's always still a good guy, but still, whether you were playing beside him or playing under him, he would go through you, like if you did something wrong, and that's what you expect. Like you need your gaffer to do that. You need to kind of toe the line and stuff like that, and he had us that way as when he was our captain as well.
Brilliant. We'll touch a wee bit on what's coming up for you. Obviously, the league kind of kicks off again on Saturdays. Of a massive game against Blantyre. Some of the games you've got coming up in the league, you've games against Blantyre, Bonnet and Rutherglen, Benbob, Rossvale. They're all kind of teams kind of round about the same position. Tony, how massive is that run to get a few wins under your belt in the games?
Listen, no, it's huge. Right up from this Saturday at Blantyre, right up to we break for Christmas. So it's a huge, however many weeks it is, massive. We've had a chat about it last week as a group. I think the players realise how big it is as well. So, no, we're expecting, we've set ourselves a target for these games that will obviously remain within the group. But no, it's games that we'll be looking to go and attack and see and win. Listen, these are the teams that are at our level within our league. We're basically playing in the same league as these teams. We're not playing in the same league as what Pollock and Talbots and Darville's are playing. There's two leagues within the league. So, and it's no disrespect to Blantyre or Bonnyton or Glencairn or whoever it is we're playing, because they'll all be looking and saying the exact same thing about us. They'll be looking and going, Cumbernauld, that's a chance for us to get points on the board as well, just as equal as us. But no, we realise it's a run that we need to go and add to the points. Definitely need to add.
Definitely. Danny, how big's the next few weeks for the club?
Huge, to be honest with you. We know that as a group of players and management have made sure we're aware of that, but alongside that, as Tony's alluded to, we're under no illusions as well. These teams will be coming looking at Cumbernauld thinking that we need 3 points for this. So we've got to be on our game. At times this season, it lagged against teams maybe around us. We weren't, and we were maybe a wee bit too big for our boots. So we've been brought kind of firmly back to ground with the past few results that we know that these are absolutely huge. Run up to Christmas. So we see how we go with that, and then we kind of go into the new year hopefully in a better place than we currently are. Yeah,
definitely. We can only wish you all the best for the season. It's been an absolute pleasure to use both on. Thanks very much for joining us. Brilliant. Thanks very much to everyone that's tuned in. Please subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels, and as always, follow us on social media. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Yeah.